and welcome to the second edition of 8 Count. Tonight we're going to feature highlights from the first two shows in the 2016 Scottish Muay Thai calendar. First of all, we've got two of the top female fighters in the country fighting at the recent Rama Camp show in Linwood. To close the show, we've got a triumphant return to Scotland for Alan Strachan after a successful training camp and winning his fight over in Thailand. Joining us tonight, we've got two veterans of the Scottish fight scene, both gentlemen having trained, fought and won in Thailand themselves. First of all, we've got Manny Singh, who we'll be seeing in action later. As well as fighting, Manny's a coach here at the Grip House in Glasgow and has been described by some of the people in this room as a style icon. Also joining us tonight, we've got a man that needs no introduction to the British Thai boxing community. We're actually going to let him do it himself. It's Stevie Miko.
Good evening. I'm the former STBA welterweight champion, the former British IKF welterweight champion, the former Pattaya Stadium champion at 70 kilos, and the current Commonwealth ISK super welterweight champion.
Guys, thanks for joining us. I understand you're both fighting in Bobby Quinn's Ultimate Muay Thai show in May.
Yeah.
We see you training on a daily basis, but at what stage does your training step up a notch for your fight, Stevie?
For myself, it's usually about 6 weeks out from the fight. I'll start to do a bit more running and step up the amount of pads that I'm doing. But really, I don't go sort of full force until about 4 weeks out, and then training twice a day, 6 days a week, or literally as much as you can. Then I'll start adding in more pads, more sparring, more clinch, more runs, hill sprints. But what I continue to do is CrossFit along with the Muay Thai. I find the strength that I get from that allows me to be better and stronger and sustain my power throughout the fight and along with the clinch, which is a big part of what I do when I fight. And to supplement that, I also use bouldering, indoor climbing, just to allow better grip strength as well. So 4 weeks out is when I sort of knuckle down, stop going out, just conserve my energy, and wake up early and go for runs.
Excellent. Manny, we understand you had some professional nutritional support for your last fight. Can you talk us through that process?
Certainly, no problem at all. I work with a company called Gorilla Nutrition, which are based in Glasgow, Gary Kennedy and Andy Docherty. Now, a lot of the fighters are kind of getting the diet supplements from them and stuff like that, and meals. I was a wee bit dubious about it at the beginning, and I didn't follow it as regimental as maybe I should have. But I kind of knuckled down 3 or 4 weeks just prior to me fighting, and I can honestly say it made a massive difference to my diet. I was training generally for my last fight there 2 times a day, at least 4 or 5 times a week, and not once did I feel flat. I was sometimes obviously running in the morning as well, but they kind of nailed it for me, honestly. And I'm thinking that was probably the best shape that I've been in with the nutrition side of stuff. My diet was good, my weight cut was perfect to a certain degree, and I feel I'll be better and more equipped for my next fight as long as I'm with Gorilla Nutrition. I would honestly say, for me personally, it was great. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So Stevie, as well as a fighter and a coach, you've also turned your hand to refereeing. Can you tell us what prompted that decision?
Well, I took a bit of time out from fighting, just with working abroad in Qatar and being away in Australia. So when I came back, I decided that I wanted to do a bit more refereeing and starting that. I'd done some inter clubs and stuff, but and kids shows, but I wanted to do more of the sort of adult professional shows. And with Jim Walton stepping down, taking a back seat with the refereeing in Scotland, there wasn't really anybody else who had the experience to step up. And with me being a fighter, I found that it was quite an easy transition to move into refereeing, because I could see how the fight was going, and I could step in at the right time when you knew the fighter was either on the ground and the other fighter was trying to step in, or there's a situation that had to be stopped, it had to be broken. So I decided to start the refereeing and really enjoyed it, and looking to continue more sort of refereeing this year as well.
Excellent. There seems to be a continuing controversy regarding the scoring system in Muay Thai, in particular the WBC rules. Can you give us a brief rundown of the pros and cons and the differences?
Well, with the WBC, it's really not the rules that they have set out in their on their website. It's the application of the rules in the UK. There's been a situation now where the WBC are in the UK alone. This isn't affecting WBC in Thailand or Australia or France. they're still going by the same standard rule set, the Muay Thai rule set, but in the UK they have now adopted WBC scoring, which basically means that all strikes score the same. Now, this isn't just a sort of dumbing down of the scoring system, and if you look at the evidence that Tony Myers has done in his studies, they show that the consistency judged under the Muay Thai rule set is more consistent, and the scoring is more in line with how it should be. There's less discrepancies between one judge over another judge. If everybody's judging off the same rule sheet, then the scoring's more accurate. But with WBC over the past 2 years, there has been more people wondering why this person won, why that person won, than there has been in the past 5 years. And that's because people don't know how to win a WBC fight, and it's all subjective rather than there isn't a clear set of rules about how to win. It's really based on the opinion of the judge at ringside, what he thinks is better.
Sure.
Now, if you've got a judge judging under Thai rule set, and then in the same show he's then judging under WBC rule set, how can he differentiate between the two? There is no way to realistically go from one rule set in one fight, switch your brain off and change that for another rule set in another fight. That's like going from like Taekwondo to kickboxing.
Sure.
In one single fight. And that is what's raised a lot of the problems. And along with that, you've got this scoring. The WBC are implementing this scoring system, and they're using the prestige of WBC belts from boxing to then sell that to the people who want to fight. But you don't need to be a good fighter to fight for WBC belt. You can come off 3 losses, which a lot of people have done, 2 or 3 losses, and you get to fight for a title. And that's what's happening more and more in Scotland these days, is that you don't actually have to be the best of the best. Before, it used to be, when you saw a fight card, you'd be like, all right, look, these 2 guys are fighting for a title. They are the best at their weight, and they're fighting for that title. Now it's like, all right, well, he's fighting him. He's coming off 2 losses. He's coming off a loss. He's coming up in weight. Why are they fighting? They're not the best at that weight. And if you look at the guys who are holding the WBC belts, there's, apart from maybe 2 or 3, they're not the best at their weight in the country. So the titles nowadays mean nothing. The only thing that really means anything is the rankings, the UK rankings, and to be the top of that is what people are looking for, rather than the belts. The belts are just a nice token these days. They don't actually mean very much.
There seems to be a lot of titles kicking about, kind of more so titles all the time. Obviously, I think the general consensus is that cheapens the sport.
Oh, totally.
But in regards to the rule change you mentioned earlier, you know, different kind of rule sets for one show, would the answer be just having WBC rules for a show, or should it be, you know, a consistent rule for every show?
I think it should be under Thai scoring. The people that are looking for these rule changes, they're saying to make a WBC scoring because then everybody can understand it. The average punter can understand it. Not the case. It doesn't. It's not. They don't understand it. If you look at boxing, Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao, everybody thought Pacquiao won. The average fan doesn't understand what's going on. That's why they have commentators to explain to these people why things are happening and why this person won, why that person lost. Same with UFC. If it goes the 5 rounds and one person wins on points, if he hasn't battered the other person for 5 rounds, not many people know who's won unless they're heavily involved in the sport. Figure skating, nobody knows who's won unless they print the numbers on the screen. And the same with like dressage, nobody knows who's won either until the numbers are printed on the screen. So the average fan doesn't go to a Muay Thai show to work out who's won and who hasn't won. They just want to go and see their friend knock somebody out or win their fight. The intricacies of it they don't really understand, and that's fair enough. They don't want to understand it. Yeah. But the guys who are involved in the sport, who have gone away, who have learned how to score Muay Thai properly, these are all young guys. They know what they're doing. It's the people who've been involved in the sport for 10, 15 years who really can't accept how to score things properly. They've never learned. They've taken their influences of boxing, their influence of kickboxing, K1, and they can't adapt, they can't change, they can't learn how to score Muay Thai properly. And that's holding the sport back, because it's not a difficult thing to understand. They just need to change their mindset. Just like anything in life, they have to apply a set of rules and follow those rules. But they don't. They want to dumb it down and make it more easy to understand. But then it's not easier to understand because there's more discrepancy between these fights. These fights, one person thinks the red corner's won, one person thinks the blue corner's won. Even the judges are disagreeing on who's won. So it just makes it all confusing.
Yeah. Manny, do you have any opinions that Steve hasn't already mentioned regarding that?
With me, I think personally, it probably doesn't affect me as much whether it's WBC scoring or if it's a Muay Thai scoring. Although I'm kind of known as a bit of a kicker, I can still put my hand to boxing and low kicks. But I think overall, I prefer the Muay Thai scoring, obviously with the body kicks and movement and evading and stuff, which is enjoyable. It's like a game of chess, and you know it's all about the thought process. Whereas if it's just box and low kick, there's not much of a thought process with it, you know. But if it's scoring, then, you know, I can do both, to be honest. So, but I would much rather score like Muay Thai scoring myself. But, you know, I can punch, I can low kick, I can take a shot. So I just want to fight.
Excellent.
Cool.
So we'll be seeing Manny's most recent fight later on. First of all, we're going to check out the female fight as promised at the start of the show, featuring Jenna Ross from Rama and Ailsa Curry from the Grip House. So guys, I think the first thing we should mention about this fight is that Ailsa Curry took this at 4 days notice, Jenna Ross's opponent having pulled out. I think the ironic thing is that this fight between Jenna and Ailsa was actually meant to happen last year.
Yeah,
And
obviously Jenna's had a 6-week fight camp or whatever fight camp she does, you know. But fair play to Ailsa for taking it at short notice. She's tough as nails, man.
we see Ailsa training, you know, kind of almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
She keeps herself fit, but how hard it is, how hard is it to step up at such short notice?
I think it's a big ask, personally. What do you think, Stephen?
Well,
On
I
a
think
4-day notice?
Ailsa's one of these girls who's got tons of grit and she loves a challenge.
Yeah.
So her stepping up to this, I don't think was a big ask for her. For some people, yes, but she saw the challenge and she went for it.
Yeah. I think she runs quite a lot, so generally her fitness is quite key. She still hits pads 2 or 3 times a week, even when she's not fight training. So she ticks over, you know.
Yeah, her job's quite active as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think she's always in good shape. I think she goes snowboarding and skiing and stays fairly active with
Yeah,
running
she's
and
an
stuff.
active girl.
The first few rounds of this, Jenna really takes control and is well balanced and really sort of dominates the fight to a certain extent. The first few rounds, her balance is good, she's reacting, she's scoring well. I think Ailsa's struggling.
Would you say that's maybe just ring rust from Ailsa? She's not fought for over a year, and obviously she's not had a full fight camp. Is that part of that? Not taking any away from Jenna.
Yeah, definitely, I think so. I think with a 6-week fight camp, you're ready to go in and fight the way you should. Coming in short notice, you're having to almost adapt to a situation that you've not been prepared for. Ailsa sort of guns for a lot of stuff here that isn't really scoring heavily, whereas Jenna remains quite balanced, catching the kicks, scoring, moving off, and responding well. But in the later rounds, Ailsa starts to push through, and that shows her strength.
Yeah,
that she
toughness just comes out, you know, that grit
Yeah.
that she's got.
She can take a dig and walk through it, and I think Jenna starts to fade towards the end.
So can you guys, maybe the next exchange the girls have, can you talk us through what does score and what doesn't score, just for anybody that's not got a full concept of the rules?
Well, blocking the kick and returning, obviously is giving you the points ahead, you know. Taking the kick and not doing anything is giving that person the point, to be honest. I'm not generally sure if this show was a WBC scoring or was it Muay Thai scoring. My fight obviously never lasted long, unfortunately, but I've generally never seen any of the fights, to be honest.
I think this was meant to be under WBC, under Muay Thai scoring, but it seems the judges are all WBC judges as well, so
Right.
their application of the scoring system can sometimes be skewed. So I'm not sure what it was scored under. What is scoring a lot for Jenna is that when she gets kicked there, she isn't flinching, she isn't moving away, and she's responding quickly. A lot of the time when somebody gets hit, if they flinch or they show that it's had an effect on them, they kick back, that doesn't look good for them at all. It's a lot of the times you'll see when they get kicked, the body kick, they shrug it off and they just kick right back as though it was nothing.
Yeah.
Just relax your body, take the kick and then respond if you can't block it or catch the kick. Jenna seems to be quite competent at catching Ailsa's right body kicks and moving back and scoring with her right. She isn't showing that any of Ailsa's strikes are actually hurting her or stopping her from responding.
So as the girls are clinching up here, it's maybe getting towards the second half of the fight. They maybe both feeling the pace, and that's why they're quite comfortable to fall into the clinch.
Yeah, there was no real feeling out in the first round. I think they've both gone hard from the start, looking for the heavy shots. And Jenna is able to respond well and catch the kicks and move off and score. But as the rounds go on, you start to see her fade a little bit. That might be the slight weight advantage of Ailsa coming into the fight at 56, whereas I think Jenna fights around 54, 55. But Ailsa's grit and determination push her through the later rounds, and the way she's trained is to try to dominate the later rounds, whereas if the first 2-3 rounds don't really score that heavily. Even though there's no feeling out process, she is still going for it, and the later rounds she starts to make headway and push through Jenna's guard and tire her out to a certain extent.
Both girls seem to be eating a lot of punches here when they're kind of trying to respond to kicks.
Yeah, their guards are quite open, I think, all the time. They're really just going for it. They're looking for those heavy shots, heavy
Big
body
finish. But again, like in any fight, fatigue does kick in, especially if you've not had a fight camp. You know, your hands tend to drop. You know, unfortunately, sometimes they go to waist height. You know, which can be quite damaging. Obviously, if you get caught.
It's good to see a standard of fight like this in Scottish female Muay Thai.
Sure.
The Scottish female Muay Thai scene isn't that strong right now. I think Amy Purney is light years ahead of most of the other girls, but Ailsa and Jenna are showing good scoring, good understanding of how to score and move off, returning kicks, and even the clinch, they're turning, moving each other around.
Ailsa's obviously a Scottish champion, and just as we come to the end of the fight there, obviously Ailsa won a unanimous decision on points, so well done to her.
Yeah, good fight.
Yeah, good fight.
Our next fight of the evening features Manny Singh from the Gip House against Scott Kerr from Rama. So Manny, this was your first fight for over a year, and you're fighting Scott Kerr, who's got a really good junior record. Did that affect your training at all when he was coming in, kind of experienced at a junior level?
No, not at all, to be honest. Because I had so much time out, I had to obviously raise my game a little bit. I had a bit of a sore loss the last time I fought in Scotland, so I wanted to prove a point that I could still mix it. Scott was quite a young opponent, obviously, but I genuinely didn't feel that he would be able to hit me with anything that was going to be hard.
Sure.
I just felt, even on the build-up, I felt really strong. My fight camp was really good, my diet was good, I trained with some good guys, you know, and I'd worked on stuff, and I felt really confident going into this fight. Felt in the best shape I've ever felt, to be honest, obviously with Guerrilla Nutrition as well.
Sure.
And everything was, I ticked the boxes on everything. But obviously the fight never really got started. Scott was obviously not scoring so well, but his timing was good.
Yeah.
He landed some clean shots, you know, just like low kicks and that. But I could see him starting to step in, so I knew I was getting that inside low on good timing.
Yeah.
And
you seem to be hitting a lot of low kicks. Was that something you planned beforehand?
not at all,
no?
not at all. I mean, it's something I don't really do, to be honest, but I was getting really good timing on it and it was landing.
And
So I felt I'll try and land it. I think when I caught him on the inside leg, I went off a left body right into the left low, and I think that kind of took the sting of it, you know.
so that's obviously your fight over before your monologue is.
Yeah.
How does it feel when you've trained for 6 weeks for a 5-round fight and it gets stopped in the first round? You're obviously happy with the victory.
Yeah, definitely. It's, in all honesty, it's got its good points and bad points. The good points is I was injury free, a quick finish, really good. I was sharp. All the stuff I worked on worked well. Didn't get to show some of the stuff, obviously, that I'd been working on. But yeah, definitely take the win in such a quick format. On the downside, you know, I trained like probably 6 or 7 weeks, a really good solid fight camp. You know, I probably wanted to have a bit of a scrap at it. Not messy, but being able to score and check how I've been returning on stuff if I'm blocking stuff. So I never really got that game on. Yeah, but you know, I would take them kind of wins all the time, in all honesty. You
You're
know,
not paid for overtime though.
yeah, definitely. Fresh as a daisy, back out, you know, ready, trying to just kind of taking it easy this month. And again, I'll start my fight camp at the end of March, which will give me 6-7 weeks, and that's where I'll start to really push it. You know, I'm kind of just making time passing just now, just kind of ticking over. But my ticking over is still training 3 or 4 times a week. You know,
Sure.
When I kind of increase it, that doubles to 8 or 9, even 10 times a week, and that's where I'll be putting in for my next fight camp.
Right. Well, congratulations on a solid performance,
Yeah,
and all
thank
the best
you.
for your next fight.
Cheers, thanks guys.
Our next fight features Malik from Glasgow Fitness against Vedderburn from Aberdeen Muay Thai.
So who's who?
Brown guy's Malik and the white guy's Featherburn. I hope.
Edit that bit out.
That's all good.
You can have a laugh with it.
Ah, it's good.
Obviously, the initial thing I think when you watch this fight, guys, Malik seems to keep his hands really low. He's not got much of a guard. Is that a style thing?
I think he's came from a taekwondo kind of background, and he's also introduced a lot of boxing into his game. He's tough. He's a tough guy. You know, he's very unusual skill set. It's quite hard to judge. A lot of head kicks. You know, hands are low. But I think when he comes up, I'm not saying that he hasn't, but if he comes up against somebody really tough and grinds forward a wee bit, you know, that can throw them head kicks with some speed and power, I think he might get caught out, to be honest.
If he comes up against a strong clincher, he'll really struggle, because when they get into the clinch here, he has really struggling to hold on to John and stop him from scoring. John should have pushed forward a lot more for this fight and gone into the clinch to tie him down. Unfortunately, he sat back and was quite phased by a lot of the spinny, turny, wild stuff that he was throwing. I think when you've got a strong clincher, or even to A-class, he'll find it a struggle. And here, this should have been stopped before he took those 8 steps forward.
Obviously, if you're holding the clinch leg, you can 2 steps maximum.
2 steps forward, unlimited steps back, but he decided to take the and dump him. I think Malik has had 14 fights, and this is John's 5th. Malik's also had some boxing fights. He's still fighting B class. I don't know whether that says anything, whether he's not willing to step to A class. Maybe doesn't have the knowledge about trying to throw elbows. And obviously the quality of A class fights is a lot higher. I think John, if he'd moved forward more and was less phased, maybe had more experience, this fight could have gone a different way.
Is he quite young, that boy?
He is, he's only like 18 years old.
Wow. Yeah, he looks like, he does look young. So that's probably, I think Malik's probably what, in his late 20s? Or is he not? I don't know.
I think so.
Well, obviously, Stevie, you mentioned, or you both mentioned Malik's got a background in Taekwondo, so he's doing kind of more spinny kicks.
Yeah, fancy stuff.
How do you combat that in a fight if somebody's throwing those moves at you?
I think if you work on the format that your hands are tight, you know, you try and block it when you see it coming. You know, if you've got a tight skill set, I don't think it can get through quite a lot, because he's throwing like wide stuff, you know.
He's generating the power from a distance. If you stay at distance, he's in his element. If you move in and you clinch up, you tire him out, it becomes a lot more difficult to throw those.
Just don't get the range of being able to spin, you know. That's the thing.
You just nullify moving forward and just throw your knees, throw your hands, stay at short distance, don't give him that space. Unfortunately, John steps back too much. I think
So that's how he's landing the stuff quite clean, to be honest.
Yeah, not a lot of what he's throwing is actually scoring well,
No.
but the fact that John can't reply to anything and he's taking the hits and he's getting scored, the kicks in the body are scoring, and he's not stepping forward, and he looks like he's worried and he isn't really being aggressive and the more dominant fighter, so it looks like Malik is the more dominant, and he managed to maintain that for 5 rounds.
Obviously, you mentioned John's 18. You think after a couple more fights, they would be more prepared for this fight, would be more experienced to know to
I've
step
seen
in?
John fight before.
Yeah.
When I did watch him the last time, I thought he was a good fighter. I think generally he's got a big future in the game, to be honest. But yeah, he's obviously got to learn on his game. Unfortunately, you can't always sit back, you know, and no matter what level you kind of fight at. Just trying to find the balance of pushing forward and having the distance. I think sometimes you know, especially if you just sit back constantly, people get that momentum of pushing forward, and you kind of find yourself on the back foot throughout the fight. So
if he is going to be fighting in the back foot, he has to be more accurate. If you want to be a counter fighter, you have to be accurate with everything that you're throwing. John is young and he's building experience, and this was the first time he fought anybody with really a sort of unorthodox style, and it was a learning curve for him. So I told him that he needs to move forward and have confidence in what he throws.
Sure.
But I think he'll come back from this stronger. You see him sort of stepping up a little bit towards the end of the fight.
Yep.
But again, he's been a little bit too cautious and not coming forward. I think if he pushed the fight, it could have gone a different way. But
Look, he's scoring quite well there, you know. That's him just taking a couple of steps forward. So it kind of changes the dimension of the fight, maybe only for a few minutes, but you can definitely see.
Obviously, in a Thai fight, if you're the more aggressive fighter, is it the chances are you're going to be scoring more and you're looking more impressive to the
I
judges?
think you build the momentum of pushing forward, and then obviously you are going to be more dominant, which is the key in Thai. You know, if you're a dominant fighter to somebody that's constantly on the back foot, depends how you're scoring right enough on the back foot, you know. If you're constantly scoring on the back foot, then that's kind of evens it out.
if you're on the back foot, you really have to be looking to off-balance the person,
all
scoring with
about
their body
timing.
kicks, keeping them off balance. But if you're the aggressive fighter coming forward, you have to be landing effective shots as well. It's all about effect. And if you're not landing something effective, then you will get outscored by a competent counter fighter.
And then the chances are you might walk into a knee or into an elbow.
Yeah.
So you again, we're saying like pushing forward, but still with be cautious. You know, last thing you want to do is walk into a straight knee, and that's the fight over. Or an elbow, obviously.
This was a good fight for John, taking on somebody more experienced. Malik's obviously got a lot of weapons he likes to throw, and it'll be a difficult fight for a lot of B-class fighters.
So it's also a hard fight for John, but it's also a valuable experience as well.
Definitely,
He's
definitely.
kinda learned
I mean, the
from
boy Malik, I seen him fight one of the guys, Titan from the Grip House, and it was tough. He was tough, you know. I was quite surprised at the outcome of that fight.
He is quite a strong-looking boy for the weight.
Obviously, it went to a points decision there, and Malik got the win.
Just constantly busier.
Yep.
It was just a busier fighter, to be honest. You know.
Our last fight tonight features Alex McGregor against Alan the Bomberman Strachan. So Stevie, you obviously trained with Alan. How was he feeling before this fight?
I didn't actually train him for this fight. I have done previously. Spent a bit of time in Aberdeen training Alan, getting ready for his fight with Paul Budden. But for this fight, he was in Thailand and he had a fight. He had a great knockout versus, I believe it was a French guy in the first round, a left hook. But on arriving back in Aberdeen, he had food poisoning from being in Thailand. So he wasn't training for about a week and then had a massive weight cut. So his preparation for this fight wasn't good, and I think that shows in this fight. And I made that clear to him after the fight.
Obviously, Alan's kind of pretty well known. He's been a good clincher. Initially, he looks he's maybe struggling in the clinch slightly because of the height of McGregor.
Yeah, definitely. And if you watch, whenever he clinches with him, he goes for the neck. Now, going for the neck of a taller opponent is really just asking for trouble.
Yep.
He goes around the waist here,
Yeah.
and he just needs to keep scoring. But I think he's tired just from the weight cut and the sickness bug that he had before. McGregor is a very tough boy. I've never heard this guy before, but he's big things to come for him. At that height, at 67 kilos, he's going to cause a lot of people problems.
What would Alan's kind of best line of offence be then if he's fighting a fairly taller opponent? What should he be looking to do?
He's got to take him to the clinch because he doesn't want to be on the outside because the guy's going to score well. He's got the length of his legs and his hands. He's got a really good advantage on the reach. But I think, like Stephen says, Alan should have been clinching and going to the waist as opposed to reaching for the neck. Other thing is obviously trying to score when he's stepping in. But, you know, I think he's kind of getting dragged into a bit of a war in this fight. Where Stevie had said obviously he worked with Alan. But, you know, Alan's known for his hard hitting. He's tough as nails, man. You know, he's not scared to step in. He doesn't mind taking a dig. But you can see there, you know, he's kind of overreaching with stuff. So maybe having to step in a wee bit more, you know, missing there.
I was surprised he wasn't coming forward, throwing heavy shots to the stomach, just to weaken Alex's engine and stop him from coming forward as
Yeah,
much.
just try and get him to gas later on in the later rounds.
I think he was a bit phased by the height of him.
He's a big boy though, that McGregor. Hey,
Yeah.
what is he, 6 foot what?
Oh, at least 6'2", yeah.
Tall guy, man.
I think it could have been a very different fight if Alex had sunk his knees in, straight knees a lot harder.
Yeah,
Whereas
rather than
a lot
going
of
for the
time-
side knee.
Yeah, he's just throwing the knees in, and they are scoring, and it is
Yeah.
weakening him a bit. But a series of front strong knees would have taken the engine away from Alan. But as we get later on, Alan shows that he's just tough as nails, and he
He's
pushes through it.
Definitely a tough guy, man. Definitely.
Mentioned in our first fight tonight, Ailsa Curry had maybe 4 pullouts last year, so she didn't fight at all. I think Alan had a worse run. I think he was meant to fight 6 times last year and only had
He
1
had
fight.
quite a few, that's right.
Yeah, he was
It's horrible for a fighter, you know, when you're getting matched and people fighting out or getting injured and you're trying to prepare, not just physically but mentally, you know, trying to get, it must be soul destroying, you know.
And Alan with a young family as well and working full time, the commitments of training in the morning, training in the evening, it sometimes seems like it's not worth it because the reward is, the financial reward is nothing compared to the effort and time that you spend on it. So I think he was close to stopping fighting, but he's got his desire back. After his fight in Thailand, he decided to set up a few fights, and he's fought McGregor, and that's him unbeaten for 4 years now, I believe. Right. He's fighting Shane O'Neill from Ireland on the 2nd of April.
Should be a good fight, that.
Definitely. A really tough fight. Two good boys, and then he's fighting Dale Murray in May on Ultimate Muay Thai, and then he's lined up against John Cullen on the Blitz, which will be, I can't wait for that fight. Yeah, they will literally just go each other until one of their faces explodes. It's going to be great. They're the 2 best at 66.
Wow, he's busy,
67.
man. He's definitely busy this year. I think got quite a few lined up.
So Alan and John are really the 2 best at 66, 67 in Scotland. I don't think Alan's fought for a title, and I don't think John's fought for a title for ages. They're just having a prestige fight, and it's going to be a great fight. But here McGregor shows that he just keeps coming back, he just keeps moving forward, throwing those knees. He takes a lot of the hard punches that Alan throws at him and just moves through it. So I think going into the 5th round, Alan was a point behind. But then he turns the fight, stays out of the clinch and starts to score, starts to move around and just gets those points on the board.
He's not running into things as such.
I think that frustrates McGregor, staying out of it, out of the clinch. Is just to score, keep throwing those body kicks, showing that he's not being affected by anything McGregor's throwing.
That's Alan starting to come in with the body shots now, Steve.
Yeah.
Obviously you mentioned that would have been an idea earlier on in the fight.
Yeah, I would have thought the right cross, the body, left hook to the head would have worked against McGregor. He moves off well, throwing the left hook to move him away, which he was instructed to, and scoring with the right body kick. I would have thought he'd have come a bit earlier, but again, when you're in there, the adrenaline kicks in, and sometimes game plan goes out the window, and you go into survival mode.
Exactly. And Alan obviously winning the points in that fight there, so well done to him, and good luck to him for the remainder of the year. So that's us for this week. As ever, check out the website for these fights and more in entirety. Join us next time, where we'll be featuring all the action from the West of Scotland Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. Thank you.